Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. I recommend to visit the booths of each speaker to get additional information about these products. Let's move on to the next speaker, Dmitro Yakovenko, Head of International Business Development, BTU, LIPOSAM, Microbial Polysaccharides as natural matters for enhancing agro-input efficiency.
Okay, dear colleagues, it's nice to meet you. And I have that new tradition. The second year in a row on the BioAg Congress, I lose my voice. So I have a new credit for you. BioAg, don't lose your voice. But let me start my presentation. So instead of introduction, let me show you some small video. Can you please improvise?
We are BTU, a biotech company that produces biological products for plant nutrition and protection. And we want the Earth to stay alive. That's why our production never stops. With 60 state-registered bioproducts in use, the Institute of Biotechnology works tirelessly, as do our warehouses and cooling systems. Our dedicated logistics fleet works around the clock and transports products to 20 countries worldwide. Our scientific team and more than 500 employees work. The microorganism bank works, and the microorganisms themselves do their part as well. We've got biofertilizers, biostimulants, biofungicides, bioinsecticides, and so much more. Everything works to protect plants, increase the harvest, and keep the earth alive. BTU, nature works.
So let's come back to the innovations. As you can see, the company is more than 25 years old, and one of the first technologies that was in the company, which our chief of R&D and co-owner invent. She was doing her PhD 40 years ago about biopolymers, and more or less 20 years ago we invented how to use these polysaccharides produced by bacteria in agriculture. So we invented LIPOSAM. It's used in several directions. So first of all, to improve quality of application. Secondly, improve rainfastness of the solutions. Thirdly, reduce risk of herbicides leaching. But also we find out that these polysaccharides improve drought tolerance of plants and also can be used for preventing of cracking of some berries in food. So as a company who very relies on data for each claim which we do a lot of tests with LIPOSAM. So first of all, as we say that the LIPOSAM improve rainfastness of the solutions. So we did this test to do on different plant surfaces with some integrated substance. We treat these surfaces with water and LIPOSAM solution and find out that when we use LIPOSAM, after and in half hour or 1 hour there is rain, we can preserve from 50% to like 200% more active substances on the surfaces. On some difficult surfaces like on cabbage, effect of LIPOSAM is especially visual. And on this trial, we also visualize that LIPOSAM helps to preserve active substances in the active layer of the soil, which is relevant for the herbicides application. Besides that, to visualize work of LIPOSAM, recently we used this water-sensitive paper. So you can see that LIPOSAM really helps water solutions to stick better to the surfaces, thus increase the efficacy of agro-inputs which you apply. Besides that, we use LIPOSAM with different substances, both chemical and biological. And in this test, we wanted to visualize how LIPOSAM can improve efficacy of biofungicides. In this test, we treat plants with Bacillus subtilis, just with Bacillus subtilis and together with LIPOSAM. And then we infected, we make a model of rain, and then we infected these plants with fusarium. And what we find out that plants treated with LIPOSAM together with Bacillus subtilis were developing better. Besides that, we can use LIPOSAM also with fungal products, for example with trichoderma, or recently we get some data that LIPOSAM can improve efficacy of such fungi as Bavaria baciana and metarhizium. Because in this product it's important to have a good contact with pest and durable contact. And with LIPOSAM you can get this effect and thus improve efficacy of fungal biocontrol solutions. Besides that, again, as LIPOSAM is a polysaccharide produced by bacteria, product is also quite rich with metabolites of bacteria. And this gives us, suddenly we discovered that LIPOSAM also improved drought tolerance of plants. We started this test 5 years ago, and in a laboratory we just treat plants with LIPOSAM, and then we stop watering it for 1 week, and we find out that when we return watering after 1 week, plants treated with LIPOSAM recovers better. This gives us idea to go in field and to test LIPOSAM together with our best biostimulants to improve drought tolerance of plants, of corn and of sunflower. To our surprise, LIPOSAM was among our top performers to improve drought tolerance of plants and improve yield of crops in arid conditions. So we don't stop on that, and we, on the last year of tests, pick up some leaves of the corn to see how different biostimulants influence relative water content and also and some other indicators. So you can see that in this case, LIPOSAM helps to preserve water in the leaves, and also we analyzed relative gene expression of genes related to plant reaction to the drought. So from this we also can see that plant treated by LIPOSAM react to drought less. Besides that, one of the directions where we use LIPOSAM is used with herbicides, and again we try to do our trials not only in lab or like on farm, but also in recognizable and research stations. So this test we did in Germany with some herbicides from Corteva or BASF known on the market, and we visualize how it can use of LIPOSAM together with soil and foliar herbicides can improve plant productivity. Of course, we also have studies visualizing the technical efficiency of herbicides when they are used with LIPOSAM, especially in rainy periods. So besides that, again, we have a lot of studies with herbicides, but in this case I wanted to show you also we have GroundFix. It's a phosphorus solubilizing microorganisms, and what is interesting in this study is that if we compare like these two variants, so just LIPOSAM is herbicide and GroundFix is herbicide, adding LIPOSAM to products, to biofertilizers applied in soil also improves efficacy of this bacteria, because polysaccharides in this case have some protective function against sunlight, for example, and also nutritional functions, as they are kind of food for bacteria. And the last but not the least, we also use LIPOSAM to prevent cracking of some fruit, for example, cherries and grapes. And in this test, we breed 2 hybrids of cherries, and you can see that we evaluate the amount of cracked fruit, and in some hybrids we decrease like amount of cracked fruit like 2 times. In some cases like for 20-30%, but still it's quite sufficient and economic for the farmers. It's not the end. Now we work on some new formulations based on polysaccharides in combination with some compounds. For example, we have formulation like 2-in-1 with polysaccharides and organic silicone, which is like 2-in-1 spreader and sticker. Besides that, we have more concentrated version of LIPOSAM, which acts as a bioglue, for example, for rapeseed sticking or soybeans. And in some cases, we also even test this product for insecticide effect on whiteflies and mites. And again, interesting to discover new properties of the material, which is so carefully produced by our friends microorganisms. So with that, I would like to thank you for attention.
Thank you very much for this time, for this interesting product. And again, the speaker is available, for answering to your question, if any, in the conference. Okay? Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next speaker, Guillem Breglia. Sorry,
Don't